everyone, welcome to Based. I'm Nixops. I have my guest here tonight, which is Samurai Wallet. We have been actively trying to get this done for the last day or so now, so wanted to go ahead and get this stream done tonight with them and answer some questions, anything that you guys got going on. So welcome to the stream. And if you have anything, just be sure to ask in chat. So without further ado, your Samurai Wallet, want to do an introduction of yourself there, sir?
Hi, thanks for having me on.
Thanks for coming on.
It's been long overdue.
Yes, it is.
I guess so. For your listeners who don't know, I run Samurai Wallet. I'm one of the two co-founders of Samurai Wallet, and I'm the one that does all the press kind of stuff like this. The other half is more of the coder developer side of things, and he's more quiet.
I'm still gonna try to get him on one day. Like, I'm literally just gonna have to.
Oh, it would be a treat.
Oh, I would love to.
You would be the first.
Let's see what I can talk him into. See if we can get to do enough whirlpool mixes to how many Bitcoin do we need in the 0.5 pool to make him come on, right?
Right. Well, today's doing great. Maybe if any day it would be today. I think we've had like 90 total cycles in that pool today.
That's awesome. That's great to hear, man. I love hearing the success of what you guys are doing. I mean, literally, I'm a shameless shill for you guys because, I use it. I use your mixing services all the time, constantly, and I literally just. I can't say enough good things, and I try to educate people on using Bitcoin as digital cash and keeping it in the streets like you guys do. And literally we didn't even know each other existed until last year. What, December, wasn't it?
It's crazy.
Yeah,
it's crazy. I only followed you based on your avatar on Twitter. It made me laugh. It made me laugh so hard. And I think I sent it to T-Dev, Samurai Dev, who I was just talking about, and he made him laugh too. So I said, "This guy's got to be all right." I think you shared a carbon-based meme. I think that's how it happened, or something along the. I think with carbon was what connected us.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, I literally, there's this interesting shift. We have the. We have the actual Bitcoiners, people like you, myself, and others like Ragnar and others who are T-Dev and everybody in our groups that are big into actually using Bitcoin to do things, right? And using it for its purpose. And then you have the maximalists who just believe in a drunken post as a lifestyle brand, and it's so fucking weird. You know what I mean? Because on their side they're like privacy. They think that they get it, but then like on our side, we're all like, yeah, that's not really privacy, bro. Let's walk it through some shit,
Yeah, I don't even think they know what they stand for. I think it's really whichever way the wind blows. For some of them, it's more about influence than anything else, and building up a brand and building up a name for themselves. Just like any kind of subculture, any community, it just happens. You've probably seen it happen in way more diverse communities than Bitcoin. It's just what it is. You just got to tune them out, and it's nice to hear. And I do hear it often, but it's nice to hear when people say they like using the wallet, they like to shill the wallet just because it's so damn useful and it works so well for them. And I think the reason it does is because the people who build the wallet are using, they're using it like daily. More, it is their actual wallet. We live and breathe Bitcoin, and it's not because of a huddled drunken meme.
Yeah,
it's way deeper than that. And we've been doing this for years now. We built the tools that we require to survive.
Oh yeah, of course. I mean, I'll be blunt with you. In the early days of mixing, right? The mixing processes we used to use in the early days were not as well put together. You used to have to auto generate wallets and keys and then turn around and do you would attempt to send a transaction, then you would attempt to split breaks and then do the fees.
There's a lot of peeling.
Lots
of peeling.
Yeah. I have a Perl script right now.
Then it was good enough, right?
Yeah.
Really, it was fine.
I have a Perl script that's like 500 lines that does that, right? And like someone asked me about it the other day. I was like, I'm not giving you that. Don't use that, right? And I mean, you guys are like literally the only ones using BIP 47 too, right?
Yeah, we're the only ones that have that implemented now, which is crazy because I mean, you'll remember how big of a push and how much people were into not BIP 47 specifically, but the concept of stealth addresses.
Yeah.
Like ECDH addresses, like that was, everyone wanted that because it's fucking cool. You know, it's an important first step, especially in privacy, is to break off that the start point. And then suddenly no one's talking about it anymore, and suddenly it's kind of like fallen out of fashion. But man, stealth addresses are huge. They're so important, and they can be so useful today. You know, with the ecosystem that we have. Yeah.
I mean, it literally,
like even if you're like not into privacy at all,
they're still
stealth
useful.
Addresses are really useful for you. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, I mean, like I get asked all the time, like especially now, like people are like, does Samurai give you anything? I'm like, no, and I'm like, literally, I just use their wallet when I'm paying with Bitcoin or I'm doing anything with Bitcoin. Except for some of the business of a Cypherpunk Labs, that's all auditable, so we don't really use mixing, but we encourage people to mix in, to pay us. But that's just ease of paperwork on our side from legal standpoint. But in my personal life, anything I do with Bitcoin, I literally am using with Samurai. Everything. It doesn't matter what the fuck it is. And like I said, it's one of those things where I show people and like they're like, why do you have two devices? And I'm like, well, one's if I'm going to pay with Bitcoin. If someone actually accepts it, I spend it.
Yeah, definitely.
And that's also
I'm of that mindset as well. I think it's just from the earlier days. Whenever you came across someone who took your crazy internet money, you gave it to them, right? You were thrilled to meet someone else.
I'm not crazy. It's 2009. You're at a bar in Bellevue, Washington.
Some validation.
Yeah. I mean, I remember the first time.
See, honey, this guy's insane as well.
Yeah. You're like, this person's out there a rocker too. They're going to be pals. I mean, I remember my first time in Bellevue, Washington, like talking about Bitcoin with someone else who had ever or even fucking heard of it that wasn't like, oh, you're a terrorist. And like this was like mid-09. I met some people that actually, outside of internet folks. And then like late 09, met someone that I didn't have any contact with or didn't know from hacker groups or whatever, just a random person who was like, overheard our conversation, was like, yeah, hey, I heard of Bitcoin, I think it's a great thing, blah blah blah, I mine. And I'm like, okay, I'm not fucking crazy, you know what I mean? Hey Terminal Cypher, hey Paval, hey everybody that's in chat. Wanted to tell you, Mix Don't Peel, everyone, Diverter is not an admin here, okay? So answer that question, and then we're going to continue on. But, so, like, one of the things that I find interesting is that you guys have, like, been utilizing, all these BIPs and, like, literally trying to force people to, like, understand the privacy notion, right? And that if you use the coin, you can replenish it. And, what I don't get is like, why is it that you have to hodl everything? You don't hodl all your money now. These motherfuckers are buying shit left and right. So why would you just keep holding on to Bitcoin and not create the circular economy? You know what I mean?
Yeah, I mean, I don't get it. Like I've talked about it quite a bit within our Telegram groups, and it's like, it's called saving, and that's what it is. Like you save some of your income and you spend some of your income. And if all of your income's in Bitcoin, then you have to do the same thing, dumbass. You have to save some of it and you have to use some of it. It just so happens that in our case, most of us live primarily on Bitcoin. We earn Bitcoin to develop Samurai Wallet.
Yeah.
So yeah, we have to spend it, and that's a good thing. And if more people did that, we would be better off for it. I think the problem with a lot of those guys is they don't create anything, and they have no value to provide. If you have value to provide, whatever it is, whether that be writing, whether that be drawing, whether that be programming, whatever, there's someone out there who needs you, and there's probably someone out there in the community who needs you.
Yeah.
Writing and transcribing and all of that sort of stuff. You could be offering that service and earning KYC free Bitcoin doing it.
Yeah, of course. And you see, like, that's always the other interesting side, right? Like, all of those people who are all about the HODL notion still buy their coins from Coinbase or some KYC service, where they stack in sats or whatever the new buzzword. Yeah, whatever the new buzzword for the week is. And like, what I don't really understand is that why, they don't believe in using it. Like, I just don't understand it. Like, the whole purpose of it, and Satoshi himself was like, you got to use it. At a point, there's going to be either no transactions or a bunch of transactions, right? And what people don't understand about that notion is that quite literally there's either going to be a lot of miners or there's not, because as the block rewards get halved, there's quite literally a business need for the circular economy to sustain itself off of transaction fees.
Absolutely. Well, you're already seeing the miners doing all sorts of fuckery now, right? Pulling hash power. They want to generate some more fees. So we'll pull and go over to BCH for a while. You're seeing that already, and this is all a consequence of there has been no development in the fee market because there hasn't really been a need because no one's transacting. And with Lightning, no one's using Lightning. Lightning was supposed to be, the layer that you transact on, right? Well, how come no one's transacting there? How come no one's transacting on Bcash? Right? That's like, you have these giant blocks and they're supposed to be fillable with all these transactions. Okay, great, but they're empty.
I mean, the other 9 Bitcoins was empty too. What night was that? The only thing that was in the Bitcoin blocks the other night was actually, I'm pretty sure, were just Whirlpool activity.
Could be.
There was literally somebody showed in the mempool that there was like, what was it? It was so low that the fees were like astronomically cheap, and it was like, holy crap. You know what I'm saying? Like,
yeah.
I just kind of laughed. I was just like, what the fuck are you people doing? Like, this is what we got to do. Like, you got to spend it. And like, what still baffles me is that when the fees go up and people are bitching about this is why we don't use Bitcoin, but then whenever the fees are down, they still don't use it. And then like, they're always like, the fee market will direct innovation. And that's not true. We know that's not true.
Well, yeah, and also it doesn't just magically appear out of nowhere.
Yeah,
like the market has to develop, and in order for it to develop, prices need to be established in terms of trade, of commerce. And if there's no commerce happening, then that's not going to happen. And commerce an exchange transaction, that does obviously apply to overall general commerce, but it's different.
Yeah. I mean, and you also have to consider this. Like one thing I want to be honest with a lot of the listeners here, and people who are in our group, a lot of these people are people we know. And so what I want to say, look at some of those empty blocks and then go verify exchange behavior. Because there's an interesting story there. And that should also tell you, if you've been watching anything or listening to anything I've talked about over the last 2 years, there's a lot of lying going on in that data. And that data is not being forthcoming about the accuracy and things like that. And so what you got to realize is that when there's no transactions in the blocks, or very few transactions, or when there's just like Whirlpool or a few small things, you will notice some exchanges are reporting a significant amount of deposits, things like that. And that's where it gets really, really interesting in my world. You know what I'm saying? Because like I look at that going, well, where are these deposits going to if they're on chain? How are they getting there if they're not being in those blocks? You see what I mean?
Yeah. I guess now they have all sorts of excuses like, well, we have Liquid and we have Lightning and this and that. But again, we know no one's really using any of those.
Hey, bro, you could use the Lightning to do Lightning things with Lightning and Lightning more things. I mean, because Lightning. I mean, like, that's literally what they do.
Right.
And then, like...
and here's a store where you can buy some stickers. That's basically the extent of commerce on Lightning.
Yeah, but it's only Bitcoin stickers. It's not anything else, right? Like, and they're all shitty.
Yes.
And they're all shitty HODL
names.
They're
terrible. No, they're terrible. Or some terrible shirts. I have to send you one after this call. It's terrible. It's really funny. But yeah, I think it comes down to really not in it to use it. They don't have a real actual use case for Bitcoin. Other than I want to get rich, right? Like other than I've seen that this number goes up, and I want to get in on this number going up, and that just creates a really perverse. I hate using the word, but it's culture. It creates a very perverse culture, and we've seen the ramifications of this over I would say since around 2014.
Oh yeah,
and 2014 is when the shift really started happening.
Yeah, I mean you're not wrong. Like I remember in the glory days of old, which in reality, it's the way it should have stayed without the KYC services and stuff. Where everything was still kind of interpersonal. Like people were selling a lot more. Like now, if I want to spend Bitcoin, pretty much I'm just buying shit that's got Bitcoin branding on it. And I'm not really a fan of that. You know what I'm saying? Like, now there's some cool services like BitRefill, coin cards. Coin cards like BitRefill, they don't KYC. You can get...
No, they're great services.
Yeah, both of them are great services to use your Bitcoin, to be able to, like, buy gift cards and stuff. And, like a lot of...
yeah.
And they do it without KYC, and, like, that's awesome, right? Like there's power in that. And... like in today's time, man, like even these stores that, that are doing these like sales and stuff, like most of their shirts and stuff literally just have nothing more than a Bitcoin logo on it or a HODL or some bullshit. And they're like, yeah, buy my stuff. But then they wonder why no one's buying this because people want originality. You know what I'm saying? Like people want, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
everything like that.
It's the same. It's the same story for the conferences as well. These guys are on these what we call them the traveling roadshow, and they go from city to city, Riga or Latvia, someplace in Latvia to someplace in France, someplace in London, talking about scaling Bitcoin this and liquid this and lightning this, and it's all it's a roadshow. It's saying the same crap over and over. This is why shitcoins are bad. This is why, okay, yeah, we've heard it all before. Meanwhile,
Bitcoin literally integrating shitcoin technology. Sorry to have interrupted, but yeah, literally. But then Bitcoin will integrate shitcoin technology. But go ahead. Sorry.
I mean, shit. I don't know what has Bitcoin integrated lately. I don't know what that is.
Yeah, I mean that's also the other running joke. I'm a bad skeptic of Bitcoin because I've been in it for so long, right? And
of course,
it's no longer the euphoria. There's only fucking so many years that hopium actually works. Eventually, you're just like, all right, that's cool. Yeah, it was great. I remember cheering for a penny. I remember cheering for $1. I remember cheering for $100. I mean, those were all great times, and $1,000 and everything. And it was awesome. However, reality is that nobody was using it, right? Taproot hasn't fully been implemented, right? According to Lucas Moten.
No.
Yeah. So Taproot's not implemented. We're talking about what has been implemented, not pseudo implementations. And then, the other thing I want to bring out to people is and you've heard me say this, and I think we're on the same page here. Just because something uses Bitcoin doesn't make it Bitcoin.
No, absolutely not. And it doesn't mean that it's bad either. It
Correct.
Just means it's not Bitcoin.
Yeah, Lightning is not Bitcoin.
It means it's not Bitcoin. It's simple, those areas they just don't interest me. Lightning never interested me, mostly due to the absolute complexity of it. It's a very complex system.
You're staking Bitcoin.
Yeah. It's too complex. Whereas with Bitcoin, even though it's a complicated idea to get your head around, once you get your head around it, there's a beautiful simplicity in it.
Send or don't send a transaction. Boom! That's fucking it.
It's spent or it's unspent, and that's what it comes down to. And there is real nice simplicity there, and I can understand it, and I can explain it, and I can get other people to understand it. With Lightning, I have a very hard time doing that. I feel like I have a grasp on it, but I don't have the desire to take it any further than that. So, and I haven't seen any real reason why I should either.
Yeah, I mean, and by the way, everybody that's asking questions, we'll get to those in a minute. But in regards to Lightning, right? So I've done some experimenting with Lightning, and no. Like I can crash channels and all kinds of dumb shit. Yeah, I'm not really a fan of any time someone can tie up my currency or my money, basically in this case, because they decided to go on a rampage.
Yeah, or your computer just shuts off and you don't have a battery backup and you lose your wallet state, and then that's that. Like it's just I don't know. Maybe it was rushed out the door as like a response to some perceived threat about Bitcoin Cash. And maybe that's really what it was, because it totally wasn't ready for prime time when they pushed it out. And I would argue it's nowhere near ready still. Like, I know what you've seen get built on top of Lightning has been utterly disappointing. It's been anything that's been built on Lightning that has actually succeeded has been a custodial or KYC solution. And it's completely normalized on that platform.
Yeah.
Completely normalized. Still in Bitcoin, still people will at least pay lip service to anti-KYC and anti-privacy. Like you'll see someone, at least acknowledge that it's incongruent to Bitcoin. But with Lightning, you don't even get that. It's just accepted. And that's extremely, extremely dangerous for a network like Lightning, which has that type of topography, because you're going to end up with these choke points, and they're going to be KYC choke points.
Oh yeah, but I talked about that before with TDev publicly on Twitter, and I've talked about it before. I was privy to seeing certain banks' wallets that they had implemented Lightning Lite, and I say Lightning Lite because theirs actually worked, and people are like, "What do you mean?" Well, so just to break everyone's little understanding here. All right, there is the world of open source software, FOSS, which we're all fans of, and we're big fans of it. But then there's also a dangerous point of that, okay, that a lot of people don't understand. So just because software is open source, if it has a very liberal license, expect businesses to utilize that
Absolutely.
MIT licensed code to make proprietary software to redistribute that fixes those problems. One of them being these banks are implementing Lightning Lite because of the MIT license. And what they're doing is they're making it work. They have filtering. They have prevention of addresses. They, like where you can't issue a new address. Like there's a lot of stuff that they're doing so that they benefit. And yes, you're right. The banks are doing that, but they're doing that to control. And
well, I see someone in the chat said Lightning is how the banks move in, and I completely agree.
100%
they've
agree.
already moved in. Yeah, they've already moved in, completely.
Yeah, Dries, that's great.
Regarding licenses,
yeah.
I still don't understand why anyone chooses MIT, especially in this space.
Well, I could tell you why.
It's the wrong license for MIT for this space, in my opinion.
I could tell you why. And a lot of it boils down to if, for example, you are a cryptographer, you may want to release under MIT just because, one, the GPL v3 can be kind of intrusive for certain types of activity, right? Like for derived works and things like that. Mm-hmm. But a lot of times, the way I see it is I support liberal licenses because I'm a fan of the BSD 2 and 3 clause, which is basically what MIT is. It's just MIT branded versus BSD. I think that people have the right to choose what license and what ownership and or contributor guidelines they want to add. Sometimes GPL works for the greater good. Sometimes it can stifle what could be the greater good in the eyes of like monetization models. Because like, for example, a company is paying to write GPL v3 code. If they decide to spin off on another product as a hedge, kind of experiment, to abide by the license, they may have to end up disclosing code because there was an outside contributor, that kind of thing.
No, not necessarily. Yeah, well, not necessarily. If you get your ducks in a row, that you don't necessarily have to do that, because just because a piece of software is licensed as, for example, GPL, doesn't mean that the creator of that software can't license it as something else to another party.
Correct.
And that's kind of the power of the GPL, especially. But you're absolutely right. You need to be, different licenses for different jobs. So, for example, for all of our user-facing apps, so Samurai Wallet itself, Sentinel Watch-Only Wallet, and Whirlpool GUI, all of those are actually licensed under the unlicensed, which is essentially MIT in the sense that you can pretty much do whatever. Well, you can do whatever you want with it, right? You don't even, and it's even more liberal than MIT that you don't have to attribute or anything.
Yeah,
it's completely public domain. It's the most liberal you can get in terms of licensing. whereas our software, like the Whirlpool Coordinator or Dojo, is licensed under the AGPL 3. And there's various reasons that in terms of the networking components of that license and whatnot. But that, I believe, protects our interests in terms of keeping Dojo and Whirlpool as true open source software. And it keeps the public's interest as well, because those are two things that a competitor would love to have, right? Like,
correct.
Whirlpool is the best coin join that Bitcoin has right now.
Oh yeah, of course. I mean, hands down. I mean, I was going to try to avoid mentioning the other competitors.
It's just objectively, it is. We know how to measure these things.
Correct.
Like, we know how to measure it, and we can measure it. So it is. It doesn't mean it always will be. You know, resting on your laurels is one of the things that happens in this space far too often. So, you know, you have to be vigilant. You have to always be innovating, and you have to always be making improvements. But as it stands, it's the best there is. So why wouldn't an unscrupulous competitor want to take that? And if you have a very liberal license, they can do that, and they don't have to attribute to you at all. And they don't even have to make it open source.
Yeah, I mean, look how many Bitcoin clones. Look how many Bitcoin clones there are that aren't open source, that literally have spun up and you know, like, yeah. I mean, we both understand the need for that. And I find it funny when people who aren't software developers, right, when they try to come at us about open source and like, why'd you license it this way or something, and you're like, you don't understand our industry. Shut the fuck up. You know what I mean?
I mean, even there's so many software developers who just don't understand licenses, and I just thought right now, like, this might be way too dry for the people who are listening.
Yeah, so that's why I was kind of trying to circle back, because I was like, even me, I was like, man, we could get on some philosophical shit for why GPL is superior due to you know, everybody kind of benefits, and then V2 versus V3, we could go down that little rabbit hole.
Yeah, exactly.
and then I got to start thinking, yeah, nobody really wants to hear that except for Richard Stallman, and that's kind of about it.
Yeah, all right. Sorry, guys. We won't geek out on software licenses.
Yeah, definitely. And you know, like, the thing is like, yeah, licenses is super important, right? And like, I'm a fan of open source, and you know, but the thing is like, a lot of people ask me all the time, well, if you're a fan of open source, you do contribute to some, but like, why is your contributions very limited? Well, what people don't realize is that like, a lot of open source developers, you know, like, now obviously I started my own business that's an open source business, basically a transparent company. But prior to that, like, a lot of the software I was writing was proprietary. Like, these people pay for my time, and sometimes I cannot literally work on a project because maybe some of the code that I would be working on in this company may actually create a conflict of interest if I'm working on an open source flavor of something else. And, you know, like, you got to be very mindful of that. And, you know,
yeah, well, I think people also make the mistake of thinking that open source is like Linux, or is the way that they structure things. That's not really the case for a lot of open source projects or companies. You have kind of like two types of things. You have like an open source project, and that's where, like, what Bitcoin is, right? Yeah. Like, that's a good example where, well, or should be, or was, I should say. That's pretty closed.
Yeah, now it's getting kept by
blockchain. You understand what I'm
blockchain.
saying, right? Like, anyone can contribute to that. You just kind of jump onto the mailing list and this and that. And that's true, Samurai. Anyone can contribute. You can just submit a pull request. The difference is, we may not even respond to the pull request. We may not have the time to. You may be submitting a pull request that we've already thought about, and it's in a roadmap, and it's just not on the agenda yet, right? We run Samurai like a business, and businesses don't publish their roadmaps to the public.
Usually,
right?
you don't.
They don't publish this. Not usually, right? Well, and especially in a competitive industry, you want to retain some advantage. So we don't say all of the stuff we're working on right now. We tell you when it's ready. And not all open source projects work that way. Some open source projects, you go onto the GitHub, you make an issue, you go through the issues, you start, ticking things off a list. Whereas other open source projects are run as businesses. And it's not, being an open source project doesn't mean you have to run it a certain way. It means, what is the code that you're creating licensed under? What are the restrictions? Is it free for anyone to view and use and redistribute, etc.? All those questions. So it's really nothing to do with how the business is run. And I think that a lot of people fail in their open source projects because they don't run them as businesses.
Well, I mean, it's critical for people to understand, you have to understand that you have to have a business model that works. Like you have to be able to first fix an issue or address a problem, a real problem. And what I tell people, and I've been pretty good about, some of the things that we've been doing outside of Cyberpunk Labs, but like in other industries that I've worked in, even in Forex and stuff, you got to make sure that you understand what you're trying to do, right? Like, a lot of projects start off with the greatest intentions, but what happens is politics. And what I mean by politics is you got to make sure also, if you're doing open source and you're working with a team as a business, you got to make sure everybody's in that same alignment. You know what I mean? Like, right now, take a look at Samurai. If you have one dev that was not on board with the same notion of everything, it would completely destroy what's going on. Because you would just be infighting, right? And that happens in proprietary companies as well as open source companies, and that's why
all the time.
Yeah. In communities, it's even worse because everybody's got a voice, right? Which is ultimately one of the problems that we have in this space of cryptocurrency, Bitcoin, everything. Is we have too many people who want a voice without doing much or being able to demonstrate what's going on or why their model works, and it becomes this hassle. Like there's so many little fringe groups that have all these voices and these echo chambers, right? And one of the things that you gotta concern yourself with is, take for example the maximalists, right? They've crafted these echo chambers of things, yet most of them don't even understand the core concepts and fundamentals of the software, how the license works, what happens with processes around Bitcoin, or the history of it. But yet they want to scream on these rooftops that they know some things, but the reality is, as soon as you start asking them anything technical, they don't understand shit. And the problem is the perception of everyone else in other software industry, right? Other fields. They look at this and there's this person has 167,000 followers, but literally doesn't know that Bitcoin was hacked. Yeah, I'm done. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah.
Because they know. They just Googled was Bitcoin hacked.
So many. Yeah, they just Googled it. I think what you said right at the start, I mean, it is totally correct. You have to be solving something. You have to know what you're solving and what problem you're solving, and you have to be laser focused on it. And that's, I think, what we did with Samurai when we started it. We knew what we wanted to do. It's actually funny. I was going through old PDFs looking for something, and I ended up in 2015. Nice. And I was reading through my notes on how it wasn't called Whirlpool then; it was just called CoinJoin feature, or something like that. But not how it would work specifically, because I wasn't the architect behind it. There's far more brilliant minds at Samurai than me. But the verbiage and how I would refer to things and how I would try to explain it to people. And those concepts, I was mulling over them back then in 2015, and I found that interesting to see how it turned into end of 2019, beginning of 2020, where those same concepts finally kicked into gear, right? And finally, I got to start actually seeing how people interacted with those concepts in the actual marketplace. So, sticking to what you want to solve and being laser focused, I think is a key, and you're 100% right. And we've had brushes where things could have gone really bad, where if the team isn't aligned, you know what happens. You've seen it, I'm sure. And that's one of the reasons why we keep a very small team, very tight knit team. The other reason is, of course, we have limited resources. but
What?
it's
Hold on.
mostly
Wait a
because
minute. Wait a minute.
ideology.
Wait a minute. You mean like an open source business isn't always flourishing, and that like maybe you have to wait on funding or people buying products or mix fees and that kind of stuff to sustain? Oh no, really? Oh wait a minute. Yeah, that's how things
Yeah.
work. Like literally, I had someone ask me that the other day. How do open source businesses work? And I'm like, because you pay for the services or features that they're enabling for you. Well, what if you don't have a lot? I'm like, then you ain't making a lot of money. And they're like, well, you're a software developer.
Man.
And I'm like, yeah. And most people have in their head that we're making buku bucks writing this stuff. But like literally, it's very thin margins a lot of times. And it can be unless you have a large user base. You know what I mean? And
Well,
that
that's right.
goes.
Yeah, that's what it comes down to. But at the end of the day, um, and that's cool. Like we don't need a super large user base right now. In fact, we are not ready for a huge user base right now. What we do have is a solid user base who do engage with the functionality, and they do so at rates that are very encouraging.
I'm one of those
Which means
people.
that the functionality is offering them something. Otherwise, they wouldn't use it. So, that's a great signal for us to see. And so what that means is, okay, we just need to scale it up a little bit to the point where we can hire, a couple more devs. And then when we can do that, then we can, start exponentially increasing what we can do to a point.
Yeah.
Because there's a magic number I feel in teams that when you go past it, that's when things start to go downhill.
Yeah, because then you got more politics.
Yeah, there's more politics and there's more. Well, we're all remote as well. We don't have an office or anything, so that's a whole thing that you contend with as well. And unless you're a particular type of person, and luckily most software people are that type of person, but unless you're a particular type of person, you need to. It could be difficult for you not to have that social interaction with your coworkers.
Yeah, I mean, and that's the other thing, like what I tell people right now, just like I shit posted to some VC last night, it's like all these, if you're VC backed or whatever, you live in California, I'm like, you don't have to be VC backed anymore. Like literally this scamdemic has taught us that you can run a company remote and you can run services remote, you can do everything remote. So like, people have to get into this mindset of being able to have that social interaction in a different fashion, like I'm not a huge fan of phone calls all day. I will do a few calls per day, but usually my day is filled with about 3 hours of phone calls. And those 3 hours of phone calls range from like investors or venture capitalists or consulting services, that kind of shit. And like a lot of people also don't realize that running a company, if you're an open source company, you are constantly being led around by people who want to know what you can provide to them. And you know this too. Like, there are people who want to talk for like 2 hours to try to see if you can build this shit out for them. And then a lot of times they either have the money or they don't. And then it's a long legal process because you got to get contracts drafted, fucking NDAs signed, proprietary license shit because they probably want you to write code that's not going to be free and open source. And I mean, you as a business.
And then after all that, you might not ever hear from them again.
Yeah, exactly. And even if you do, you then realize that like, okay, these people have champagne dreams on a beer budget, you know what I'm saying? Like then, because they didn't provide you the spec or whatever, you know what I mean? Like people really have no ideas what's going on in that background, like with businesses, right? Because as an open source business and service provider, you're gonna take the work because it's extra cash flow if you have the resources to do it,
Yeah, if you have the resources, yeah, for sure. For us, we get a lot of that. Usually it's some product or service who wants us to implement their thing into our apps, and they want us to do all the work instead of, hey, we want to do something.
Hey, here's a pull request, bitch. That's what you tell them.
Yeah, well, exactly. But and even then, we probably wouldn't want it anyway. It's usually some KYC thing or some altcoin thing. Or something like that, and it's like, well, dude, have you even looked at the app? There's no altcoins in there. There's not even a fiat price in there, man. Like, why? What do you think people are going to use your altcoin buying, exchanger thing.
So it was kind of like today. Kind of like today, someone said something when I mentioned you in a tweet, right? I said something about Samurai being on base, and they were like, "Can you list our coin?" I was just kind of like, "What?"
Oh yeah.
And like, I get it, but it's like, come on, man. You know what I mean?
Yeah, it's constant, but that's it just comes with the territory.
Oh,
it's
it does.
It means that we're on their radar. At least it means that, hey, they want their thing in our thing. So it means that we're growing and we're making a name for ourselves. So we can't be too unhappy about it, I guess.
Oh no, I'm happy seeing the growth, and like I said, man, I'm one of those shameless shills. Like, in a few cities, I have very small communities of people who accept only mixed coins and use Whirlpool themselves and help contribute to that what's going on and use Bitcoin as digital cash. And like it's great because Samurai makes it easy. Especially mobile mixing like that. That shit is just it's great. And like one of the things that and we're about to have to get into this because some people are asking. So one of the things that a lot of people don't understand is like, what is Whirlpool, or like what is Stonewall, or like what is what is a dojo? What are these things? And so like, let's do a couple of little descriptions of ELI 5, right? Like explain like I'm 5.
Sure.
I know what they are because I use your product. So. Yeah. So, like, can you explain to someone what a dojo is? What the dojo is?
Okay. Yeah. Sure. So we're doing light explainers here. We're not getting
we're not getting into deep dive shit. We just want to kind of cover the basis of like an explanation of what they are.
Okay. So okay. When you launch your Samurai wallet, and when you launch most wallets, not all wallets, but most wallets, what's happening is your wallet is sending a request out either to a server or to the Bitcoin network itself in the form of SPV, asking what are the balances of these addresses. What Dojo does is allows you to run the architecture that accepts that request and then responds to the wallet. Your balance is X, Y, Z.
And correct
if you
me.
don't run a dojo.
Go ahead.
Yeah, sorry. If you don't run a dojo, you're relying on Samurai wallet servers. So you're trusting Samurai wallet servers to tell you the truth about your wallet balances and transactions, and you're also trusting Samurai servers not to be, hacked and the data stolen, and you're trusting Samurai servers that or Samurai isn't malicious and selling your data. So it's preferable for your perspective as a user to run your own dojo, because then you don't have to put that trust in to anyone else other than yourself.
Yeah, and so here's a question, and then also correct me if I'm wrong. I forget if it's dojo or not, but dojo allows you to also specify if someone dust attacks you not to spin that dust, correct?
No, that's just Samurai wallet.
Okay, I just wanted to make sure there was a clarification there, because I knew it from Samurai. I just didn't know if the message was coming from my dojo, because I run dojo,
sure,
and I run Samurai, and like I said, so for myself, I after you kind of learn how things work, you kind of forget some of those moving parts on the back end. You know what I'm saying? Like, is it coming from?
Oh yeah, for sure.
Yeah, is it coming from
the dust? The dust definitely it's detected on the client. What the server does is actually pretty light for the most part, because address derivation, all that sort of stuff gets done on the client as well.
Nice.
The server is storing the XPubs and it's keeping track of the mempool. It's looking at incoming transactions that are unconfirmed and seeing, hey, do any of these incoming transactions correspond to a wallet that I'm tracking?
Yeah.
And if so, log it. So when the user logs into their wallet next time, it's immediately seen. That sort of thing. So you don't have to run a dojo, and the type of privacy you get from running a dojo is different than the type of privacy you get from using Whirlpool. They're different tools completely.
Correct.
The privacy you're getting from running dojo is privacy from us, from the provider, from the wallet provider.
Yes. Awesome. So like that's a great ELI 5 kind of description, because that was, because like literally we just added, dojo on Cypherpunk, and so like some people have been asking us what exactly will Dojo do, and so I told them to tune in tonight. You would explain it so that we could walk people through kind of what that is, and then so let's cover what Whirlpool actually is, which is the CoinJoin done right.
Yeah. So what Whirlpool is a CoinJoin implementation. It's based off of a CoinJoin implementation called ZeroLink, which was written by NoPara73 and TDevD, with contributions from many other people, including Belcher and Christoph Atlas and some other people I'm forgetting. So it was a pretty comprehensive framework, and it's a very good framework for equal output coin joins. Now, Samurai is the only full implementation of ZeroLink. So we liked it so much, and we wrote some of it, so we implemented it properly. Now, what does it do? Very simply, the point of a coin join is to disassociate the past history of coins from their future activity.
Yeah.
And the way you do that is by entering a pool of other UTXOs, of other users who want to achieve the same thing, with a strict set of rules that the coordinator of the coin join transaction enforces. Important side note, because I'm assuming that not all of your users are Samurai, or all of your listeners are Samurai users.
They're getting there. Trust me, they're getting there.
A quick side note is that Whirlpool is entirely non-custodial and trustless, so you retain ownership of your private keys at all times, which is something that the older mixers back in the day, they were all custodial, so there was counterparty risk there. They could have stolen your coins, and in some cases they would steal coins. So what ends up happening is, with 5 other participants, you essentially swap around your coins, jumble them up, and at the end of it, you have an equal amount that you put in, but the history of those coins cannot be linked to the past or to the future of those coins. One of the things I see a lot of people make the mistake of, unfortunately, and I think it actually is just a coping mechanism, is believing that this type of technology is sufficient for erasing the record that you leave behind when you acquire your Bitcoin via KYC means. So you acquire KYC Bitcoin on Coinbase, and then it goes into a mixer, it goes into Whirlpool. You may be breaking the link of the future of those coins, but the past of the history of those coins is still intact.
Yeah.
Coinbase knows that you bought Bitcoin. The U.S. government knows that you bought Bitcoin.
Correct.
And no one's accepting that your boat sank, all right? No one's accepting that you lost your private keys in the ocean.
Yeah.
Right? They'll ask, okay, let's see the insurance claim. Oh, you don't have one of those? Well, that's odd.
Yeah.
It's not that easy. You better have a good attorney. And then you find out these guys are talking about losing their private keys for like 0.01 BTC. You're like, oh, okay, well, attorney's off the table. What are we even talking about here?
Yeah, like why are we even having this conversation? Because you're not even dealing with anything worth a fuck at that point. You know what I mean?
Right, but the point stands. So the KYC record doesn't go away. The fact that you bought Bitcoin doesn't go away. What you're obtaining is protection in the future.
Yeah,
and that's only if you're careful about it as well, because if you can very easily, and it's not as easy with Samurai, but if you're persistent, you can pretty much undo your mixes just by stupid post-mix behavior.
or telling people you mixed and publishing your post-mix UTXOs on fucking Twitter.
You would understand, but yeah, the amount of analysis one can do from what people post on Twitter is unbelievable.
Oh, I know. Trust me, I do know.
There's probably maybe a few people who are listening, but there's some people I make a habit of actually doing is DMing the people I follow. And whenever they make a post, they post a picture with a little bit too much information. I tell them, I circle it in red, and I say this, and this.
Yep.
It gave too much away. If you're gonna post it, and that's not even talking about the mixes. It's like, oh look, I know what network you're on.
Yep.
I know what apps you're running. I know all of this stuff.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, and like what people really don't understand is that like the real danger in that, right? Like they just assume that because they mixed, and I use this phrase a lot. So there's no silver bullet for security. Okay, there isn't. Samurai is great. Whirlpool is amazing, but again, it's not a silver bullet for all your software or all your security privacy needs for Bitcoin. Maybe one day there will be, but you got to remember, there are still behaviors that you as the individual can do to compromise. I mean, and literally people are like, oh, well, I use GPG, I do this, I do that. Yeah, but if you're not doing everything else correctly, it doesn't fucking matter. It's like using Tor, but putting it in full window mode.
Yeah.
You might as well not even use it at all, because anybody can identify you on the network. They see you. It's ridiculous on Pixel Eye alone.
Yeah. Well, and that's the same thing happens in Bitcoin. I mean, we fingerprint wallets all the time. Wallets that do silly things, and we can classify them. Okay, now we know you're using this wallet, and this wallet always selects this this output for change. Okay, got it.
Yeah, exactly. Hey, can we show a quick little thing of the Whirlpool?
Yeah, well, I have it on my screen here. Let me see. What we'll have to do is we'll have to do a TX0 first and wait for it to confirm. And I don't know what the hell blocks are doing tonight. I haven't looked.
I haven't either. Hold on, so let me
let's start the process.
Yeah.
I have no problem with that. I've never shared a screen on this before, so just give me a second.
Do you need me to cut out to where it's just me talking in case there's a slip?
Why don't we do that? Yeah, I think we'll be okay. But
let me figure out how to do this. Actually, I'm not gonna be able to do it. I don't have that setting on right now. Damn it. So you know what? Maybe
it's all right.
Maybe we shouldn't do it.
How do I share my screen though?
I don't know.
As a guest?
Yeah, you should be able to do it. It should just show up.
Okay. Well, I don't see it, so maybe we'll do it in a second. You can ask. Why don't you ask some questions from the chat or something? While I
sure thing. Let's answer some questions from the chat. Let's go back. I did tell everybody we would go back. So here we go. Someone's asking.
I see it. Cool.
Blah, blah, blah. Someone was talking shit about Samson. Someone, Curb, asked for views on Mimblewimble on Litecoin.
I don't know anything really about Litecoin or Mimblewimble, to be honest. I don't have enough information on it.
All right, Dry Ice is asking, any plans on having smaller pools like a 1/1000th pool?
Yeah, definitely. We've thought a lot about it, especially as if the Bitcoin price keeps going up, it starts to make a lot more sense, obviously. The issue is we don't want to fracture liquidity too soon. The pools are just starting to get into their groove, where we're getting mixes. Pretty much, you're never really waiting around that long on your first mix anymore. And if we were to open up new pools too quickly, we could see that degrade. So we're definitely game for opening up smaller pools, but we're going to be conservative about how we do it.
Awesome. And let's see. One person was asking, best practices when sending coin in and out of Samurai is sending in directly from a KYC exchange is a big no-no, right?
No, I mean, no, it doesn't matter. I mean, getting the KYC coins is the no-no, but a lot of people do it. You're not like, I mean, don't feel that bad. A lot of people do it, but it's not. So obtaining the coins is where you fucked up. Sending them to your Samurai wallet won't make any difference. Your exchange won't know that it's a Samurai wallet, for example, because there's no identifier other than the Bitcoin address. And there's other Bitcoin wallets out there that make Best32 addresses, and we can make all address types. So if you wanted to, just have an old simple address, you could do that and not even stand out at all. So yeah, there's no issue doing that. What I would say is, once you receive, I would throw it through Whirlpool, despite the fact, like I already said, it's not going to erase your past history. It will break the link for future activity. So it's worth after deposit going through Whirlpool.
Yeah, I mean, and that's critical for people to understand. So one other question that we had, I'll ask that in just a second. I know that one's going to be a shit show if we start talking about it. No, the Grateful Dead is not always playing when I'm on the phone. A lot of times when my music's on different stuff, I like certain Dead stuff. Wasabi disclosure. Of course, we know who asked that. Yeah, no.
I don't know who asked that.
It's Crypto Beacon. I don't know who they are, but I'm guessing it's somebody from the shitposting Telegram groups. So he wants to know about the Wasabi disclosure. Do you care to comment or no?
Coming tonight. Yeah, no, I'll comment. It should be out tonight. We're a little late on it. We weren't expecting. I'll be 100% honest with you. We weren't expecting to have to put it out so soon. We expected the Wasabi team to want to fix it. If it was something that they came to us about in our platform, we would take the 15 days to fix it for sure. So we didn't have the report ready in a way that was digestible for the average audience. What we sent, the disclosure we sent to Wasabi, was written by the developers of privacy tools for developers of privacy tools. So it's a little bit dry for the common read.
Oh, of course.
You understand what I mean?
Yeah, but see, that's another thing, right? Like people all the time ask me, like, "Hey, can you explain the exploits that you guys have been testing on your testnet on Bitcoin?" I'm like, it's very dry. Like, breaking it down is very dry. How C++ handles an object, how it constructs, deconstructs, and things like that. Like, it's very, very dry. And unless you're just like a masochist and really enjoy fucking dick slamming your, in a car door, it's very boring and it's not really juicy or meaty. The outcome is, but what's happening is not. Yeah. So I'm saying all this not because I'm trying to delay or put it off. We're putting it out and it will go out tonight. It's pretty late my time, but we will do that. So can you do could you describe it in a 2-minute TLDR, like a too long didn't read?
Well, what happened was Nopar actually posted the text of the dry, like I said, the dry text of the disclosure that we sent to him in a paste bin, and he put it on Reddit. So I mean, it's clear he doesn't consider this a problem. And what the TLDR, the ELI5 is coin selection in Wasabi wallet is it's deterministic. It's not random. There's no randomness in the coin selection, either on the coordinator side or the client side. And I don't mind saying it because he's already posted it out there. He posted it earlier this morning. Now, the details of that are more nuanced, of course. There's sources of randomness that come into play just from existing, right? And just from just unknown sources. That's the nature of randomness. However, it's not in the coordinator and it's not in the wallet. So there is a wild varying of results in the mixes. I think that's all I'll say on it for now.
And that's fine. I mean, thank you for commenting on it. Like I said, I personally have just been waiting for more, to come to light, and like waiting for you guys to kind of publish and other things. And like I said, I don't really read Reddit.
Publish, and I think this is really what's important, because here's what it comes down to now. And you'll understand this is that team obviously does not consider this a problem or a big deal. Otherwise, they wouldn't have posted it on, publicly on Reddit. They would have fixed it. even if they said we were blackmailing, like, let's just agree, okay, we blackmailed them and this was that, and we were the worst people in the world, we had ulterior motives, all whatever, right? Despite that, your coin join algorithm is deterministic. That's obviously a problem. Like, why wouldn't you want to fix that? But okay, so you don't want to fix that. We aren't disclosing this now for them to fix, like the original disclosure was, right? When we initially emailed them, that was for them. That was, hey, this is how you should fix this. This is what the problem is.
You mean, and like in a proper disclosure, like any other software company would do?
Not only just a proper disclosure, because look, no one's stupid. We have history with Wasabi. Like, there's bad blood between us. And I don't really feel like getting into it. But it's not like it's all sunshine and flowers. There's bad blood there. So this had to be transcended. It was surprising to, I think, a lot of our users that we went to them privately. That's uncommon for us. So a lot of them must assume, like, okay, this is something that is definitely more than just flaws in the chain analysis side of their mixes. There has to be something else to it. And indeed there is. So the disclosure isn't for them anymore because they don't care about it. The disclosure is for users now. So our main priority and our main goal is to make it understandable for users, because if we just present them a report that goes into the math of why this is and how this goes, they're not going to read it, and if they do read it, they're not going to understand it, and it's not going to stick. They need to understand what the trade-offs they're making by mixing in this platform is, and then decide if they still want to mix in that platform or not. And if they decide at that point to mix in the platform, it's on them. At least now they're informed, and they, that's where I'm coming from.
Of course, and I, I respect that. Like, the thing is like, people need to understand what they're getting themselves into, so to speak, and what's really at hand here. Because, if they're being told a false sense of security about something, like, they really need to know that there is some problems. You know what I mean? And the more, I'm a fan of brutal honesty and transparency on that. And, like, I think it's great that you guys did the disclosure. I really am. I know there's bad blood, but, dude, I can't name a single security researcher that doesn't have bad blood with their competitors or anything like that. So, like, for me, it's just day-to-day operations. You know what I'm saying?
Oh, yeah. No, for guys like, it's not a big deal like that. And in fact, the bad blood exists on a purely technical level. I don't know him at all. From what I've seen on the technical side of things, I think he's either stupid or malicious, and I don't think he's stupid. So, take that for what it is.
I mean, he's reached out to me before asking me about the provably safety of, Wasabi and why I make the statements I do. And I'm just like, look, dude, I'm not personally going to get into that battle, because that battle's not my battle to wage. Like, in the last 2 years, I've gotten really good at just, like, letting people hang themselves and just avoiding getting involved. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I maybe we should do that sometimes as well. But here's the thing. The space is small. As the privacy space is small. And it is our belief that when they do things like this, when they leave sloppy mixes all over the blockchain, when there's deterministic links in their mixes, when there's unmixed change in the mixes, and now when the coin selection algorithm is determined to be deterministic, all of that doesn't just leave a bad taste about Wasabi. It leaves a bad taste about Bitcoin privacy in general.
Yeah,
we already hear the narrative that coin join, the equal output coin join, gets tainted and is broken. It's not. It's phenomenal. It's better. There is no better than equal output coin join. If you have unequal outputs, you have links. It's as simple as that.
Yeah, no, I agree.
Yeah.
I agree. The biggest problem that I see right now is that, like you said, the privacy space is small. Like, so small that most people outside of our groups actually have very little idea of why to even use the software.
Exactly.
Because they just believe that it should just work. I mean, there are people right now that I know who just think as long as they don't address reuse, they're fine. And I'm like, yeah, that worked in 2009, 2010, 11, 12. That no longer works. because there's so many coins that are being recirculated. There are links to how it works now, and literally the exchanges from people, buying clean coins to dirty coins to be able to buy on Silk Road stuff also helped in that. But there are links to a lot of coins, and people don't understand what those links mean, because a lot of people really don't understand that it's not necessarily that you want to do something evil or that you're doing something nefarious. It's just the fact that you don't want everybody else to know what you're fucking doing, and you shouldn't, because there's a privacy that should be seen as a human right, kind of like, when I say this, people get upset about it. But it's like, look, you don't use the bathroom with the fucking door open. You don't sleep with, you don't give out your mother's maiden name and shit and everything you fill out online. You don't let people see how much money you have in your bank. Why the fuck are you letting them see how much Bitcoin you have or how much you've accrued, right? Unless you're trying to do so for a transparency reason, for like running a business or something. But outside of that, there's really no purpose in other people knowing how much money you have. You don't walk around showing people how much cash you got in your wallet, do you?
No, and exactly right. And there's, you have privacy from third parties other than your bank, right? But in your bank account, no one can just look into there. Like, I can't look into your bank account.
Yeah.
Your bank can, obviously, and the government with a warrant can, or if the bank is compliant, will just hand it over.
Actually, most banks don't even require a warrant now.
Right, exactly. If they're compliant, they'll just hand it right over. But the point is, Joe Public can't look in your bank account. Like, Joe Public can look at your transaction history on Bitcoin and see everything that you've done if you're not careful about what you're doing. So we're at a disadvantage in privacy on Bitcoin, and it's essential that we get up to speed and get at least as good privacy that you have with cash and you have with fiat, because we're not there yet. We have some properties, but the most important properties we don't have yet.
Well, so you know what helped in that? Like, and I'll be honest with this, and then, like, if we can, we'll show the whirlpool in a second. I can't see what's going on, if it's ready or not.
It's ready. I mean, I should probably actually make the TX0. So I'm going to do that while you're going on. So I think people can see.
Yeah, so what I was going to say is that, like, literally what, goes on is that in the early days of Bitcoin, you didn't have to KYC buy anything, and if you bought coins, you bought them from an individual or a Bitcoin dealer. And then what people didn't understand was that I could tell you to go set up your node and start mining day one, and you would have coins by the next day, almost guaranteed, because there was very little difficulty, because there was no pools. There was no gamification of the network. So what happens is that changes drastically as the network continues to grow, and now it's controlled mainly by ASICs and not individuals. And if you need to turn that off, keep in mind they can see your screen, so just letting you know.
Yep, they can see my whirlpool stuff, right?
Yeah, they can see that. So I just want to let you know, I didn't want you to put something in and then all of a sudden some shit go down. But basically what I'm saying is like, literally in the old days we could tell people that, but now, people are like, how do I get KYC list Bitcoin? And like, I'm going to say this, and it may be offensive to you in some ways, but I use software to get ahead. Use software that makes sense for the condition that I'm in or situation that I'm in, right? And there ain't no shame in using altcoins to obtain Bitcoin in a trustless fashion. There isn't. Anybody that tells you there is a KYC supporter.
You use the tools that are available to you.
Correct. You use the tools that are available to you to get to the end goal, whatever that end goal may be.
Yep.
And that's why I tell people, don't necessarily hate altcoins. Don't hate anything. Learn to leverage things.
Yeah, absolutely. So I see someone. Dryce asks about coin selection. With Wasabi says, why wouldn't choosing random TXOs fix the problem? All I'll say, Dryce, is that's a central component to this disclosure. It's a very good question, and it will be later tonight. I don't know your time zone, but later tonight, my time zone, where we publish it, and you'll have full answers. But that's an excellent question. And then someone said paynims. I don't know exactly what you want to know about paynims, but I pulled it up on the screen here. So paynims are our implementation of a stealth address, as I was talking about a little bit earlier. you're able to share a payment code, which is this guy right here. So if I click on that share button, here's my payment code. And this doesn't change. This is part of your wallet, and it is static. So you can share this on, let's say, your Twitter or whatever. And just because it's static and you shared it on your Twitter, it's not like a static Bitcoin address. No one can look back through your transaction history. What someone else can do, and someone with Samurai Wallet can do, or someone who has another wallet who's implemented BIP47, which are none right now, unfortunately. But they would just scan this QR code here, and a blockchain transaction would occur. That in that blockchain transaction, essentially some cryptography is happening, and secrets are being exchanged. And as a result of those secrets being exchanged in that blockchain transaction, they would now be able to generate addresses on my behalf. So they could say, hey, you know what? I want to send Fancy Sound 783, 01 BTC. And they could do that without having to ask me, hey, send me a Bitcoin address. And the other cool thing about it is those addresses are one-to-one. So no one else would be able to generate that address or know about that address. It's just you and the other party. So it's a very cool feature. It's not utilized as often as it should be. It's not known about by even, I think, Samurai users. It's a sleeper feature, but it has a lot of potential to be very disruptive, especially if we invest more time in it.
See, I haven't really used Paynims. I'm not gonna lie. Like I've used a lot of other things, but Paynim, mainly because I don't know, man. Like a lot of it's first of all hard enough in the areas that I frequent, even in California and everything like that. Yeah. It's hard to get people to understand the idea and the concepts of generating a new key and using or generating a new wallet address, and then utilizing Samurai and how those things work. That's hard enough. Like trying to add in hey, here's this other cool thing. Literally, that's just the equivalent of doing it with my friends and people I know. You know what I'm saying? Those are the people that are going to utilize those features. And I'm just being honest.
Yeah, sure. Yeah, no problem, man. And I think it's pretty common. And I think another common thing is people think that it's only Samurai that has it, so it's not really worth me doing it. And I think that's true to an extent as well. But I looked at the numbers yesterday, and there's I think it was 86,000 registered Paynims. So there's quite a few out there. People have Paynims. So I think that if your use case is I want to accept donations, I want to share an address online without it undoing my privacy, Paynims are the solution. If you're an exchange and you need to ensure that your withdrawals are going to the actual customer and not to some scammer, then Paynims are definitely the solution. Yeah. So there's a lot of different things that Paynims can do, but you're right. Right now it's still too complicated. It needs to be way easier, and that's what I meant by if we invest more into the feature, I think it would grow.
Awesome. All right, so let's cover this Whirlpool real quick. This little demonstration, so that we can kind of get that done and maybe answer a few questions. And then I know it's kind of late, so not late, but. Yeah, people got other things they want to do on a Friday night too. You know what I mean?
Sure. All right, so I think I'm gonna do the TX0 on mobile. So I opened up my wallet here. I have a UTXO in my account 0 section of the wallet. This is UTXO 0.4 BTC. Mm-hmm. I could do this a number of ways. I could click on the UTXO from the UTXO list, like I was just here. Yeah. I could long press it and then click on the Whirlpool icon, and that would start mixing. I could also go to the Whirlpool section here and then click on Mix UTXOs. And that will show up that UTXO. I select it, click Next. I'm gonna, you know what, let's splurge on this because I really hope it confirms quick enough to do this demo. And I'm gonna select a high fee, even though I probably am overpaying. I'm going to select the only pool that I can. So the concept of pool size is you need to have at least this number to enter the pool. So I have 0.04, so I can only enter the 0.01 pool. If I had 0.08, I could enter the 0.05 pool, or I could enter the 0.01 pool. And which pool I enter really is kind of a personal decision and kind of an economic decision. For example, if I have 10 Bitcoin, do I really want to enter the 0.1 pool and get a whole bunch of 0.1 UTXOs? Or maybe is the 0.5 pool a little bit better?
I don't know. I've used the 0.1 pool to do that. So
right. Well, it really is up to the person.
Yeah.
You know, they just have to think about it, and they may end up, depending on what the fee rate is, paying more in fees in the 0.1 pool than they would total in the 0.5 pool. So it's just something that, and the other thing you want to consider is, what do you spend on average? Like, how do you use Bitcoin? What amounts are you spending? I find that the 0.1 pool is perfect for like spending amounts. You know, having $100 in your wallet at any given time. You know, that kind of deal it's a perfect small bill, so to speak, right?
Yep.
So that's what we're going to choose. We're going to go to the last step here, and it's just going to give you an overview. UTXOs that are being created is 4. Deterministic links is 0. Number of combinations. So what that means is when the transaction is complete, the number of mathematical combinations between links of inputs and outputs is 10,546. That creates what we call 100% entropy, meaning that number couldn't be higher. It's the maximum number for 5 inputs and 5 outputs. If we had mixes that were 10 inputs and 10 outputs, the number would be higher, but it would still be 100% of maximum entropy. And to answer anyone's question before they ask it, yes, we have considered larger mixes, and yes, we're totally for it. We just want to make sure, again, that the liquidity is there for it. We are now going to press begin cycle, and we are going to get the doxic change warning. This is a really important warning. Most of the time, you should press yes. What it's asking you is, I should have shown one thing first. I don't know if you can see it on my screen, but it says on the bottom here, unmixed change, 0.01 BTC.
Mm-hmm.
What this is asking is, hey, what do you want us to do? What do you want to do with this doxic change, this unmixed change? We're going to put it back to account 0, but do you want us to mark it as unspendable so that you can't accidentally spend it and you have to make the choice to actually mark it as spendable, or do you want to just leave it and, you know, fly by the seat of your pants? You click on yes, it will be marked unspendable, and that's what you should do almost all the time. So we're going to do that. And then we just wait for the transaction to be broadcast to the network. I've never done this on emulator, so that's cool. It did work. That's good. And then we're just going to give it a pull down to refresh. There we go. And now we have 1, 2, 3, 4 premix UTXOs. And as soon as this side updates over here, you'll see 4 premix UTXOs as well. It'll just take a second to update. What we need now are these UTXOs to confirm. So you check that by going back to your main balance screen. You look at this and you can see it says unconfirmed 0 of 3. When that becomes a 1 of 3, mixing will automatically begin. So we should now just kind of leave the demo here until it confirms, or until it hopefully confirms.
All right. Well, I mean, we can
okay,
start
there
talking.
we go. The Whirlpool GUI picked up the change. So now we have 4 UTXOs here, and it matches the mobile app. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. So we're waiting again for one confirmation. And I guess I could just go back over and show you guys the unspent outputs here. Since we clicked on yes, it now says do not spend. This is the amount. There's obviously a bug on the miscalculation because it thought it was 0.01 BTC. It's much less. So great finding bugs while doing live demos.
Hey man, that's what it's all about, right? Like, I mean, literally, you know.
I'm gonna open this up here, and I'm gonna just make a note to this to say this is the Nixops based demo. I know what this was about, and I'm going to leave that as unspent. And it also gives you a tag here that says TXO change, so you know what this was about.
Nice. Yeah, I mean, like this is something like literally I was trying to like I kind of wanted you to do it because like I could walk you through it, but like I didn't want to get into the fact of like sometimes people want, I don't know, some people just don't understand the need for some of this stuff, and then like when I try to explain it to them, they're like, well, I'm not doing anything illicit, so why do I need this? And I'm like, it's not because of that. Like, it's privacy, not necessarily doing negative things. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I mean, it's just like the same reason why you don't want your bank account to be public, and you don't want people to know, maybe that you buy erectile dysfunction pills,
Yes.
or maybe you're a closeted gay pastor or something, and you don't want your congregation to know that you're buying gay porn. Like, there's all sorts of reasons. People have secrets.
Yeah, of course they do.
that's just how it is.
It's life. I mean, like literally, people.
It's life. There's plenty of reasons. If you can't think of it, it's because of lack of imagination. On your part. That's it.
Yeah, of course.
Not you, but the person saying it.
Oh, I know. Like there are definitely people who are out there that have a lot to hide, and then there are some people that don't have a lot to hide, but they practice good OPSEC. So, like those people shouldn't be shunned. Like I try to tell people all the time, like I have a lot of people I won't email them on my personal stuff unless they use GPG, right? And what happens is like they get upset with me because they're like, why do I need to use GPG to talk to you? It's like, motherfucker, I need to know that it is you that's talking to me. I don't want you to send me an email from your email account and it actually be like your business partner or something like that. I want you to cryptographically verify you are you by signing your email and encrypting it to me.
Yep. Yeah, absolutely.
And like they freak out. Why? And I'm like, well, because it's better for us to know these things. I need to know those things so that I can know it's you. Because what if someone gets access to your email account, kind of like similar with Satoshi's email account being hacked, right? You couldn't sign anything with the key, so people were like, oh my God, Satoshi's live. No, that's why he enforced GPG use, and that's why it was a big deal, because a lot of people really don't understand how important verification of keys are, and like I tell them all the time, you take it for granted, but it's really useful because there's a certain level of confidence you can have, right? Like, because if someone sends you an email asking you for some very important information, if there's not a GPG signature associated with it and signed, I'm not going to respond to it.
Yeah. It's like whenever I rarely send a Telegram DM to one of the people in the room. Like I always tell people, I'm never going to send you a DM. Don't accept the DM because it's a scammer.
Yep.
But there are rare occasions that I have to DM people, like to invite them to a beta testing room or something like that. I'll encrypt the message with the public key that's available on our website, and say, hey, this is really me. Go verify that this message is encrypted, and once you do that, come join this Telegram room.
Yeah,
and it might be overkill, but when you need to prove that you are you, or at least give a very good assurance that you are you, then there's really I can't think of a better tool.
Yeah, I really can't either. I mean, like I said, I support people using strong cryptography and tools, and that's what I do. Like privacy advocacy as a cypherpunk is a big deal. Like you can't just tell people use these tools. You got to show them. And like that's kind of what we're doing with with Base. Obviously, is like going through these, like how to use this stuff. It's complicated, we know, but once you kind of get in the mindset, it becomes very easy to kind of use.
Well, definitely, and once, like, yeah, it's good to teach, and it's good to get people to understand it, because there will become a time when they do need it, and they'll be happy that they had someone to teach them that. But like if they don't, when they need it, they'll go looking for it, and they'll know that they need it. So it's important that the tools are there for them when they make that realization.
that's the other side of that coin, and that's one of the things, like, again, to bring it back to like Bitcoin, we've spectacularly failed on that. Again, what privacy innovations or improvements even have been deployed protocol level on Bitcoin?
Yeah, nothing. I mean, literally just don't. Well, BIP 47, but you guys are the only ones using it. I mean,
well, that was unanimously rejected by Core.
Yeah.
Right. That was literally, that's the label: unanimously rejected for implementation.
Well, hold on. Was it actual Core or was it Blockstream's Core? That's the real question, right?
It was probably around.
I forget the dates.
Well, it was right before the scaling wars. It was right before the scaling wars. It's actually it's a fucked up story. I don't know if we're out of time or whatever, but I'll just give a quick one. So the guy who wrote BIP 47, Justice Ramvier, he is an excellent privacy researcher. Him and I, we disagree on plenty of things, but like we already talked about, that's completely normal in these spaces. But when it came to privacy, and it came to Bitcoin privacy in particular, he was extremely talented. He's the one that wrote BIP 47. And he just had the unfortunate opinion at the time that blocks should be bigger, and that was heresy at that time. You could not have that opinion and contribute anything to Core. So his opinion, so his contributions were trashed. BIP 47 was not given the time of day. He was told that it wastes block space because of the op return. He was told that it's spamming the blockchain, and he basically got so fed up that he just quit contributing. Right, and I don't think he worked on Bitcoin Cash or anything like that, because it was pre-Bitcoin Cash. But I think he probably went to whatever split was occurring at the time, because there was quite a few. Mm-hmm. And so he just doesn't contribute anymore to that. And he has actually contributed a couple other things, but he did so through someone else as a proxy, because he knew that anything with his name on it was just going to get trashed completely.
Oh yeah,
like it was no good.
I mean, so, I have to use.
It's such a shame.
I mean, I whenever I've done stuff on Bitcoin in the past, I use fake names, stuff like that. I mean, but that was also when I was working with certain people. Their names aren't going to be mentioned. And we had to do those kind of things because, like literally people didn't want to be associated with this shit. I mean, ultimately also every time you got problems, there's always the ramifications, right? Like people are fucking crazy in this space, and that they'll, have you, raided. They'll send death threats. They'll do all kinds of stuff. They're not a fan of your code or anything else. And, I've dealt with it for years too. And like, it sucks. And I feel for him, because like, that's a great bit. And, going back to kind of everything with privacy and all this centric stuff, is that like a lot of people don't realize also the risk that you take with this stuff. You know what I mean? Like there's some real ramifications that can happen to you in regards to contributing to certain projects. Don't believe me? Go look at Wikipedia or just do some digging about certain people in the early days of the space. You'll find out a lot. And it gets kind of crazy with regards to that. And one of the other things that it ultimately leads up to is that these privacy is important. So, not posting your address and not tying yourself on Twitter are critical. Don't ever do that.
Yep.
Yeah, never tie an address to a Twitter tweet, profile, anything. Never do that.
Use a panem.
Yeah, use a panem. Like literally, literally, I don't have a panem, but now I'm kind of interested in maybe checking it out.
Get it.
Yeah, I get it. Totally get
it. Like you could. I mean, I think P-Boy, who's a graffiti artist in Paris, I know he has a panem, but he hasn't done it yet. But he could easily stencil his panem QR code on his art, like he does with his Bitcoin address. And that would be a way more private solution for him than having his vanity Bitcoin address on there, even though it's a great vanity address. From a privacy perspective, it would be great if he had a panem as well.
Oh yeah, definitely. I mean, like I said, I'm all about, supporting the use of this stuff. And, like I said, we both kind of see eye to eye on that. We understand the needs of this technology and how to use it properly.
Oh, we got a confirmation. We're mixing.
Oh boy, there we go.
Cut you off there.
Oh no, that's awesome,
Yeah,
man. I just I know we won't be able to get to post mix in a minute, but I just wanted to kind of demonstrate this piece. And the reason why is because I'm gonna have to close down in a minute.
All right.
Just because we could go on for hours, you and I just talking about this shit. You know what I mean? So I may have to just schedule it to come back on in a few weeks and just sit down and maybe we could do the post mix portion of this and demonstrate the best practices for post mix if you'd be interested.
Sure.
Yeah,
I'd be interested in that.
So what I could do is say I'm getting confirmation on what week the tour project's coming on based. Which is kind of public knowledge they were going to come on anyway. So let me get that ironed out, and because next week I have a secret surprise for everyone. The following week or that following week may be a good week for the post mix, or the week after. So either the 3rd or 10th of September. We'll talk offline, but I just trying to get all this stuff ironed out because I would like to show what happens at the post mix level too,
yeah, for sure.
Yeah, because
I think we got a mix. I just think my network is pretty clogged right now because it's not updating quick enough. But I'm pretty sure I got a mix on this one already. I'm gonna look on the mobile side, but I'm definitely happy to come in again and we can talk about post mix stuff.
You just showed that pen to everybody.
There is actually there is. See, we did get one in post mix. I thought so.
Nice.
So if I go here to total post mix, it now shows. Yeah, this thing is flying now.
Paid all them fees.
Yeah, and then if I click on the little samurai guy here.
Yeah,
some people don't know this, but if you click on the samurai guy here, it will take you to your post mix history, and now you can see that right there. That's our unconfirmed. Let's look at it on the. Yeah, sure. There it is.
Very nice. Hell yeah.
That's our mix. So we're there. So we got a mix on there. It didn't take that long to get that confirmation, but I did overpay. So
I'll tell you what. I'll send you some sats. Just let me know. I'll probably set up to use Paytem.
No, it's all right, man.
Well, no, I appreciate it. So but also it gives me an excuse to try out Paytem. So
Okay.
Yeah. So I'll set that up sometime this weekend and send you something just so that I can try it out.
For sure. Happily.
He's like, yes, using the Paytem. But
I'm just happy we got a mix before we ended.
Yeah, no, definitely. Like I said, my thing is I'm going to shift it back to the 2-person screen now. So
sure.
So with post mix behavior, everything like that, there's a lot of stuff that can go on, and I think that we could do an entire evening of talking about how to properly post mix, and what you should do, how you should use it, maybe what services to avoid, maybe a community driven thing would be the people who have been bitten by exchanges start posting in a GitHub repo about these services are known to block this kind of stuff. You know what I'm saying? And it's important for people to know that, because what you don't want to do is you don't want to send sats to someone that came from a mixed source, because they're not going to send them back usually.
Mm-hmm.
And so for users, they got to understand that, you know what I mean, that, and I think that's important too, you know what I mean, because that's something also that I'm having to help people understand too with the Cypherpunk Labs. I'm no offense to anyone that's done this, but there have been a few people that have reached out to me with their information, and I'm like, don't do that. Just don't. Be like, hey, I want to use one of your exits, I'll tell you how to do it. We have a guide up, things like that. But literally, you got to be careful. And same thing in privacy spaces revolving around this. And I'm sure you also feel the same way. It's great you're using our product, but please do not tell me your address. You know what I mean? Don't tell me.
Unless you have to. If you have to send it, then we'll troubleshoot it. But for God's sake, don't send it on Telegram.
Yeah, don't send it on Telegram. Don't send it on anything. Please do not just do that, because you have this. at that point you're almost liable for certain things, right? Like in some states you are, because you now know of information, and that can be considered a KYC. That now, if you're questioned under penalty of law, like literally, you would have to disclose and be compliant that you knew of that. You know what I mean? And
Right.
that's where like we've been trying to like get people on board with that. And I know this is something you deal with too, because you guys actually provide support. We really don't, because we operate like the vending machine. Like, you paid for the, here it is. We don't know anything about you, and you can't prove shit. Doesn't matter what you say to us, we can't actually verify it. You see what I'm saying? So on Samurai side, I get that, where you guys are like we want to help, but like, for fuck's sake, don't tell us the wallet ID. Just tell us the steps you fucking did, so that we can help that part.
Yeah, exactly. And look, if we have to, there's times where we're going to need your address. We're going to need to do something on our end. If you're like, unless you're running Dojo, then we have nothing to do with it.
Yeah.
But if you're not running Dojo, if you've put your delegated that responsibility onto us, then I feel like we have a responsibility to provide support. But it has to be under controlled measures. That's why I'm very strict about it on Twitter and Telegram. I get DMs all the time, and I tell them every single time, email support@samuraiwallet.com. I promise you someone will answer.
Yeah.
It's not a black hole. It's just an area that we can control.
Yeah, of course. I mean, like I said, I feel you on that, man. Like so you and I are agreement on that. Nemesis, I'm doxxed. I mean, most people know who I am. I mean, obviously, most days I'm on live, on video. Hell, earlier I did a live stream on Twitter. I myself am sort of doxxed in the fact that most people know who I am. Most people just don't know where I live. Some people have been sneaky bastards and done some dirty work and even tried to prove some shit. But, I as far as Samurai, from my understanding, they are not. And so I respect that, and I respect anybody that chooses not to be. And tonight, the only reason I'm got this up versus the thing is to get a little like shit and feel like shit. So there's that.
Oh, you don't have your camera up?
No, literally right now there's a mass secret squirrel up. I just, yesterday I did, and we were going to do the stream, but the key was all fucked up and stuff. But yeah, right now I'm just not feeling great. Earlier I did a stream, but just also I didn't feel like actually brushing my fucking hair and shit. So there's that. I'm being honest.
Well, yeah, I never go on camera.
Yeah, I know you don't. So that's what I'm saying. Most people don't ever do that. So Pastime Kramer, me and Samurai could probably talk for 2 days about proper OPSEC stuff. And I want to thank him for coming on, and I want to thank you guys for doing such a great service. And I'm a shameless shill for you guys, and I do so out of the, because I use the product. I use it every day, or most days. Like literally, I constantly have mixes going on, constantly, in and out, things like that. I support teams and groups of people who are doing this and doing good work and privacy and everything like that. And literally, that's why we're doing the dojo hosted model. To Cypherpunk Labs are going to help some people simplify that process, because I'm beginning to learn a lot of people don't have an extra 250 plus gigs laying around for a Bitcoin blockchain.
Yeah, or a fat pipe to download download stuff and keep it synced.
Yeah,
I
something
think a lot of people are gonna really appreciate it.
Yeah,
but really gonna have good use of it.
But the other thing is like a lot of people don't understand that like my whole thing is whether it's with my company or not with my company. My goal is to make everyone understand that like we can make this simpler, right? So people say Cleopatra is like the easiest GPG. I beg to differ. You want to know the easiest GPG tools ever fucking made is literally gpgtools.org for Mac. And I know you may not like Mac, but hear me out. I can right-click and sign, right-click and encrypt. Everything's defaulted into the mail clients. Everything just fucking works. It's beautiful. And so far on Linux, no one's done that, which still baffles me why that Mac would get it or Windows would get an easier to use tool than Linux when most of the people who are avid GPG users are using Linux. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I think it's mostly just there's no incentive. They just use the command line, and no one wants to write a program for it, and they're all just comfortable.
Yeah, I mean, like,
But
I
yeah,
like mine too.
it delays progress from normies,
Yeah.
for sure.
But I think as we make tools simpler and just like what you guys are doing, right? Like making simpler tools, self-hosting options, creating this world of, you don't necessarily have to pay for Big Boy or doing this, doing that. You can also run your own, you can also do this yourself. And, kind of, it's imperative that people start doing it themselves, and I'm not saying don't trust your services, but also it's imperative to be able to be self-sovereign.
It's good to do it yourself.
Yeah.
Yeah. We want people to do it themselves. Look, it's not about not trusting our servers. The less people that use our servers, the less cost. The less it costs us to run those servers. So, I want people to run dojos. I think that's great. It doesn't harm us at all. It increases. It's good for us actually. So yeah, continue doing that sort of stuff. And the more people that have access to Dojo, and I think there's going to be more people that have access through Cypher Labs, and I think that's a positive.
But I mean, our template will be completely open source. So by the way, we will basically just be like, here's how you can set this up on your own Linux box. Here's a script, just run it. It will do it. Wait for the sync. Blah blah blah. You know what I'm saying? Because like that's ultimately going to build the trust. Pastime Kramer wants me to do a quick rundown, but what I want to do first is I want to say to everyone, follow Samurai Wallet at Samurai Wallet. Also follow at Samurai Wallet Dev. I follow both of them. Great accounts. Always got things going on. Join the Telegram groups if you really feel like getting involved in some crazy shits from time to time. And where else can they reach you, by the way, before I do this quick rundown?
Well, samuraiwallet.com, I think if you want to learn more about the features, and you spell Samurai Samourai. And yeah, I mean, I'm very reachable on Telegram or on Twitter. So I'm always in our room. So if you just want to just give me a tag, and I'm sure I'll respond to you.
Awesome. And I want to thank you personally for coming on. This has been too long. And we're going to have you back so we can do some post mixing. And then that way we can show people like good steps of post mix. Maybe I'll have you test using a DNM, and then that way I can just have it sent right back to you, which would be really, really clever.
Put that on me. Put that on me. Okay.
No. I'm kidding. I was kind of kidding with you. Like, it was a joke. Because like literally it would just be funny, but like I'll put it. Actually, I'll do it. I'll do that.
No, I know what we'll do. We'll do the card thing we were talking about earlier.
Oh yeah,
buy some cards.
Yeah. Put in some fake addresses just because it's a test market. Yeah. Pastime Kramer, you wanted to know a quick rundown. Cyberpunk Labs, literally what we've been kind of adjusting at about a few things. We provide trustless services, as in we don't know who you are. We are a software as a service company. Right now we provide exit bridge and entry guard relays. We also are turning on Dojo instances, hidden services bulletproof, and a whole slew of other features and things coming through the next few days. That basically are to create a system in which we do not know you. We are a company. You pay us for something, but imagine it more like a vending machine. You make a selection, you pay for it, that's it. We don't have a support channel, we don't have anything. It's a one-time kind of deal. You're given login credentials, whatever happens, you're liable for. You break it, you bought it, you get raided by the FBI, not our problem. And why I say it like that is because truly one of the biggest problems right now is that, and you can agree with this too, I'm sure, Samurai, literally everybody has customer databases. Everybody has tracking software and everything like that. I mean, we don't even have cookies on our website. So the goal is that we create this system of trustless business operation, but in compromise, instead of us not knowing anything about you and you also not knowing anything about us, we want you to know about us, how we operate in transparency, and in a way that you can understand, to audit, to verify what we're doing. And so this is creating a new business model, and that's what the whole goal was, Pastime Kramer. It's literally a week-old company thing, and we started, and that's what we're doing. So there's that. But yeah, Samurai, I want to appreciate you again. Thank you for coming on. I fucking love you guys. Like I said, I'm gonna get T-Dev on here. I fucking swear, I'm going to. I know he's in chat. He can say whatever he wants. I know you're there. I seen you. But thank you again. Thank you for the demo. Thank you for showing how the Whirlpool works. And again, thank you guys for doing great work. I appreciate everything that you guys do, man. And thank you. So
hey, thanks for having me. We'll be back on soon then.
Awesome.